Good evening, everyone. I'm just trying to get our speaker for the day onto the space, and then I think we would give people a few minutes, um, even after the speaker joins, depending on when he joins, and then we can just start with the space. I hope everyone is doing okay, and the week hasn't been a hectic one. Kels, do you want to come up as well and just, even if you end up not asking any question, but do you want to come up as a co-host and we can just get this show on the road once we get our speaker on?
Good
Hey,
evening, everybody. Good
what's
evening,
up? What's
Mandy.
up? What's up? How are you?
I'm alright. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Did you see the new feature? I'm still trying to get our speaker on board, Mr. Francois. And yeah, once we get him on, I think we'll start with the show. There's a new
Oh,
feature on the space where people can ask questions at the bottom right.
I see the little speech bubble thing.
Yeah, so I think people don't have to go into the DMs anymore. They can just ask questions down there. I just don't know how it works exactly, but we'll just give it a try and see how it goes.
Okay. Yeah, even for some of us who are shy to speak, we can use that
Yes,
feature.
exactly.
Alright. Yeah, no, great space. I'm looking forward to this one as well. Like, we need to know where are we going? Where are we going here? Should we just leave it, or is there a way
Hey,
forward for poultry farmers? Because hey, yeah, no,
dark
tough.
times.
It's tough. Feed prices. I went to the feed shop today. Feed prices increased again by
But fuel
another.
went down today.
Yeah, no, but yeah, where I buy feed, they took prices up again. So yeah, we are feeling the pinch here.
I'm trying to tweet the space to remind people, but I keep failing. I don't know what's happening. I hope it's not my network.
No, you're coming through pretty clearly. So
Yeah, I'm trying to share the tweet and just to remind people, but nothing is happening. Okay, there, now it's gone. Uh yeah, yes, you can just keep talking, Kels, please, because I'm trying to DM Mr. Francois.
oh yes, yeah. No, this is really a space that we need right now. Considering that uh, uh, these tariffs that were meant to prevent predatory dumping of chicken pieces on our shores have now been scrapped. So we are going to be competing with frozen chicken imports. Um, that's gonna that's
That's
gonna
what I
affect.
was disappointed about as well. To
Mm,
learn that Mr. Petal actually approved the no tariffs, so the removal of tariffs on imported chicken.
yeah, no. Just when we thought there was hope for us to capture some market, now things are looking bleak. But perhaps there is reason to hope. Hopefully, after the space, we have reason to hope that there is reasonable prospects of success for poultry farmers here in South Africa.
We can only hope, really. Honestly, we can only hope. But I caught up on a webinar um, from this poultry master plan yesterday. And yeah, some of the things, there's a bit of promise, but it's not for all of us. A few
Yes.
people at a time.
Okay. Trickle down economics, is it?
Yeah, it's I just want to call Utemba. I don't know if you guys know him. We've had him in the space as well. Oh, there's Mr. Francois. Okay, invite to speak. Why am I not following him? This is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully we will be able to have uh, a way forward. Honestly, I don't want to lie. I'm so glad I stopped doing broilers. I don't want to lie to you, man.
Yeah, no, I'm also running out of patience for broilers now, hey. Yeah, it's very tough, especially in this environment with these prices, the price of everything. Just when I look at, you know, projections for like any, I'm not making any money. I'm getting by. If things go well, I'm getting by. If things don't go well, you know, I'm losing money. And I was, I just bought a plot. I'm hoping to expand, but if things are going to continue in this trajectory, perhaps someone we need to, yeah, but actually we don't need to start the space off in such a gloomy note.
Please. Okay, please give me a moment. Mr. Francois, good evening. I'm trying to pass you the mic. Could you please grab the mic or request if you're not getting my request? This network must let us prosper, please.
Yes, no. At least one thing must go right here in South Africa.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to try to call Temba so that, because I don't know what's happening. Can you try to invite him from your side, Kels?
Um, I have never done that,
You just press
but
on the, yeah, and then invite to speak.
okay. Is he in the space?
Yeah, Mr. Francois Bad.
Oh, there he is. I've invited him. I'm not sure if he's getting the invite on his side.
Okay. Let me call Temba as well. Hopefully it's gonna work. Mr. Francois, maybe if you can try to leave the space and then come back again, hopefully it's gonna work this time around.
Okay. Do we know if he can hear us? Oh, he just left.
Yeah, I think he can. Usually when people are struggling with network, they're able to hear but can't do anything about getting onto the space. Yes, 100%. Good evening,
At
sir.
last. Thank you.
Thank God.
Yes.
We're
Oh,
starting to
thank
think
goodness.
ESCOM has got you.
I was getting worried that maybe the trade minister wanted to silence me.
Well, I think we can officially start the space now that you are here.
Thank you, and my
Good evening,
apologies for being so
everyone.
clumsy.
No problem. We
No
know.
problem.
Is it before technology? BBC? What's BCC? What?
Yeah, something like that. No, I've never used these spaces, so this is a new one for me.
Wow, I'm so glad. Welcome, welcome to Spaces, to Twitter Spaces.
Thank you.
Um, okay, so guys, good evening. Welcome to the space. Thank you so much for joining us. I would just like to introduce you guys to Mr. Francois Bard. He's the founder of the Fair Play Movement. I don't know if you guys know of the Fair Play Movement, but they talk about fair play fights for jobs and aims to end unfair trade in South Africa. They have been playing a role in trying to, this what Mr. Petal has just approved today, trying to make the level the ground or level the field whereby poultry farmers in South Africa can also sell equally to the importers instead of the importers making millions and not spending much. So yeah, Mr. Francois, before I babble away about you, I would like you to just do a quick intro of yourself so that people understand why I regard you the way that I do.
You're so nice. Thank you, Amanda. Well, friends, we started Fair Play in 2016. And the reason we started Fair Play, the movement, was because we discovered that, eating patterns have changed in the North. They only eat the white meat, the breast meat. And as a result, they have huge quantities of the meat I like, the chicken meat I like, the brown meat, the bone-in meat, as they call it. And this is then dumped wherever they can find an easy access. What we also discovered was a study that USAID did in Ghana in 2017, when Ghana used to be able to support itself in chicken. 95% of its own chicken was produced in Ghana. Then they did a similar thing that the minister did now. They scrapped all duties and tariffs. They were flooded by dumped chicken. In other words, all these leftover pieces that couldn't be sold in the north, they sold cheaply to importers in Ghana. And very quickly, the local poultry industry was destroyed, to the point where by 2017, Ghana only produced 5% of its own chicken. But in 2017, chicken in Ghana was more expensive than steak in South Africa. And this is why we think dumping is not only, I mean, it's an illicit trade. The World Trade Organization forbids it. And therefore, the government has a right to slap anti-dumping duties on chicken imports that are sold below the price of production of its country of origin or below the market price in the country of origin. That's the definition. And yet in South Africa, it went on for a long time, destroyed thousands of jobs, because what they do is they bring it in, the importers make a fat profit, billions of rand every year. And that profit they don't pass on to the consumers with cheaper chicken. They simply pocket the difference, but they make it very difficult for small farmers to compete with the dumped chicken, because they're able to lower the price as much as they like. So they're able to always undercut local producers. As a result, the big producers also had to stop growing, had to start cutting jobs. And South Africa went through a phase where jobs were cut, and it was very difficult. You are all in the industry, so I'm probably telling you things you know already, but I'm just explaining why it started concerning us. My motivation was when I discovered and met a lady in KwaZulu-Natal, who lost her job at a poultry producer after 20 years. And she said to me, you know, where we are, it's the rural areas, and there's nothing else. So it's not like we can go and find another job. And then everything goes wrong. Children can no longer go to school. People go hungry. Alcoholism is a problem. All the social problems follow this. Then I discovered that South Africa has one of the highest incidences of child stunting. And child stunting is when a mother who's breastfeeding and carrying a baby, pregnant mothers, and small children don't get enough protein before they are 5 years old. Their brains get stunted. Their bodies literally are smaller than other people's bodies and brains. And as a result, if it's not turned around before the age of 5, they are like that for the rest of their lives and become a burden to themselves and to society. And we have to look after people whose potential was undercut for lack of access to protein. And so if you put all of these things together, that's why we started Fair Play. So we're not a representative organization. We don't represent anyone. In fact, I'm here to plead with you to support Fair Play. Even if you've given up on chicken farming, just your voice by saying these anti-dumping duties that we have been cut is forcing me out of this. Minister, do something. Change your mind. Because there's no reason why we should have these anti-dumping duties scrapped. In fact, the minister concedes that dumping took place, that harm was done to the industry. And then goes ahead by saying, yet he's concerned about the poor and that anti-dumping duties from Brazil and the other 4 European countries will raise the price of chicken. When it clearly, the price of chicken will not be raised because of anti-dumping duties. Inflation has already caused a rise. The best thing that could be done, and this is the other thing I want to open up for discussion with you, is to say, scrap value-added tax on local chicken pieces, and on chicken feed, because that's an immediate assistance to poor people. And we must all fight for that to happen. There was a simple way the minister could have done this. And remember, by scrapping these duties, he is also taking the income that would have gone to SARS and to the government, in other words, away and giving it back to the producers in Brazil. So the winners in this decision are Brazil and the importers. The losers are people who produce chicken in South Africa and poor people. And so we must go after, with all our might, we must go after this. We want VAT on chicken pieces and on chicken feed to be scrapped immediately. And we want this decision to be turned around as quickly as possible. Thank you, Amanda. I hope. Sorry, I talked so long. I apologize for that.
No, it's okay. It's the passion. It's definitely the passion. I also get like that. And before we go on to the topic of the day, I would just like to find out what is fair play. I don't know why my mic muted itself. What is fair play doing in regards to trying to get the minister to go back on this decision that he has just made, so that we can be of support as small scale farmers? Because honestly, if they scrap, or now that they've actually scrapped the duties, it means that SARS is not getting anything from these imports, which also means that they can afford to remove VAT from feed. They can afford to remove VAT from the chicken that is produced by the local farmer. So what is Fair Play doing so that we can be of support in order for this to be reverted? Because when I think about something that almost happened, which was the flag that was going to be put up somewhere, after people actually voiced out their dissatisfaction, it was something that was taken down, like, okay, no, we're not going to do that anymore. So is our voice very small in order, or is it too small that we can't also be heard like that, that decisions can be gone back on after they've been made?
My response is, and I'd like to hear from everyone else in the space, but my response is, when we started with Fair Play, we also had a small voice, but boy, we just shouted louder and louder until someone listened. And the other thing is to make the case. The industry, this poultry industry, has done a study on value-added tax in chicken, and it's available. And Amanda, if you want, if you can give us a place where we can send you a copy of that study, we can send it. Minister Godongwana, the Minister of Finance, has now said, send me ideas. Well, if each of us starts sending the idea, scrap VAT on chicken pieces and scrap VAT on chicken feed, at some point, they must register that this is a serious thing. If we send the same to the presidency, the president must know about this. In addition, I think it's very important for all of us to, via social media and via email, to tell the minister what we think of this decision. The more of us who raise our voices, and the more you go and talk to your own circles to raise their voices with you, take into account most poultry is produced in those areas of South Africa with the highest unemployment. So go to your local town, go to everyone in your circle and ask them to join you and say, please help us, raise your voice with us. At Fair Play, if you go to the Fair Play website, all the statements, all the facts, everything is available there. So it's easily accessible. Also, we have a weekly bulletin that we put out every week with stories, with facts, with numbers, and that's retweetable and that you can place on all kinds of social media. If you are interested in receiving the weekly bulletin, just go to Fair Play and register there to get your bulletin. And just amplify your voice through your own social media, through your own letter to the ministers concerned, and through your friends. If we all do this, we'll build pressure.
Absolutely, Mr. Francois. I don't know if you're still there, but we can't hear you anymore. But I just wanted to greet everyone that has just joined the space. Guys, I know that it was supposed to be Q&A Tuesday, but our speaker was available today. So for the next 2 Tuesdays, we are going to have Q&A so that everybody can be answered on things that they need answers to or on. And when people come up to ask questions, can it be related to the topic, please, the topic of the day? If you have any suggestion in regards to things that you want us to discuss, you can DM them to myself, to Hang, Kels, or Norma. She's not in the space, but I do know that a lot of you guys know her. You can DM us, and then we can have those things as our next topics. If anything is urgent, you can also DM us and ask us questions to assist. If it's not urgent, then it can wait for Q&A Tuesday. Then we have, the conversation so that a lot of other people can be helped from the problem that you might have been experiencing. So let's not, ask things that are out of topic when we're having a space around a topic or a certain topic, because then the speaker comes here and they take their time out so that they can give us information. And when you ask a question that he's not here to talk about, then I don't know who's going to answer it. So can we just try to, keep that in mind? Thank you so much. Mr. Francois, I don't know if you are still in the space, but your network was a bit bad.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Okay.
hear you. Okay. Yeah. So I think yeah, a lot of us just need to start being very loud. We need to be very loud about these chicken import tariffs that have been taken off. We need to be louder than we were before. And guys, it's not up to Tuhang or up to myself or up to Kels to tweet about it, to tag the minister, because that's what needs to happen now. We need to scream louder, as small as we are, because honestly, we are going down south if this is the case, because that chicken was already cheap with the tariffs. So now without the tariffs, we are really just going down south. Let's try to have a united voice. Tag them after this space. I'm tagging him. I'm going to tell him that, Mr. Minister, with all due respect, this decision is really killing us. Without wasting any more time, I think Mr. Franca can just, tell us about what does the master plan say about chicken dumping, and where does one, where do we get the benefits as a small scale farmer? Just to briefly discuss the poultry master plan, touch on the opportunities that are available in terms of transformation for small or emerging farmers, and what it says about chicken dumping, what it says about the tariffs, and is it sticking to it?
Well, remember the poultry master plan was Minister Patel's master plan. And in the poultry master plan, the big producers agreed that they would invest and create jobs, but that they would also start helping more people to get into the industry, to have access as contract growers and so on. And at the same time, government agreed that they would stop dumping because it harms the poultry industry for all, small and large, and that they would start helping to create all the necessary technical measures that are required to enable exports. And the Import-Export Association, Army, committed to helping with exports. Well, in the last 3 years since signing it in 2019, the big poultry producers have invested more than 1.5 billion rand in new facilities, and they've created 1,650 new jobs. They've made a commitment in that money also of 560 million rand, I understand, for housing for black workers and upgrading the access for small black farmers. But not a single extra chicken has been exported thanks to the poultry agreement. The only thing that the government did by allowing anti-dumping duties to be levied on unfairly imported chicken has now been scrapped. So the poultry master plan is now under threat. The problem, of course, is that if the minister can do this without, being held to account, then all the other master plans must wonder whether it's worth investing in those too. So this is a major U-turn for the minister. He said he would act decisively against unfair forms of trade and any attempts to dump products in our market. Well, apparently his definition of act decisively was to help them instead of stopping them. That's where we are on the master plan. It's now under threat, and the master plan is now something that we must question whether the minister is even interested in using the master plan to benefit the country. Amanda, I hope that's a helpful start.
Yeah, depressing start. Depressing start. But Yeah, no, now the master plan is definitely under threat. And um, if he just turns on it after signing it, then what do we refer to? But we have farmers like Kels here in the space, and Kels is very innovative. He has built his own feeders, and he's built his own um mbaula to try and create warmth in his chicken coop. So what I would like to know is what are the opportunities that are there in the poultry master plan for farmers like that, and for farmers that also don't, farmers that just buy eggs to sell, because farming doesn't mean that you have to own the chickens. Farmers that raise chickens to sell at point of lay, and farmers that raise from day one to day 42 to sell meat. What opportunities are there for such a farmer in the poultry master plan?
Gals, I'm assuming you're going to go.
No, I don't know the answer. I was hoping you would give us the
Okay.
answer to the question, sir.
Well, let me take it from this perspective. One of the very clear objectives of the poultry master plan is to grow the industry. The big producers committed to helping growing the industry, and so the whole idea of more contract growers, of expanding the market so that there's more opportunity for everyone, and of providing increased training and assistance to smaller producers. It's all part of the master plan. But for that to happen, for those investments to make sense, the poultry industry must be successful, because, Kels, if you can't make a profit selling your chickens, unless you're a philanthropist with a lot of money behind you that you can give away, it's not going to work. By now allowing dumping, the minister is making it impossible for the master plan to work. And so very soon, a successful industry will again be under threat from importers. And so, in making the choice in favor of Brazilian profits instead of South African jobs, this is why we are so disappointed and angry and really worried for the future of local producers. And Kels, you can tell people, but I mean, the fact is, you have increases on every front. You have challenges on every front, from power right through to the prices of feed, right through to a shrinking market if the dumpers take over.
Yes,
So,
there's really only so much that we can do. I mean, we have, or if you look at Twitter, like I'm following a lot of farmers. Everyone is trying something. Zohang is mixing his own food. I myself am trying to cut back on electricity costs. To everywhere we are trying to cut some of these input costs, but there's really not a lot we can do past a certain point, because the economics of it just take over. And I wanted to ask you a question. I was reading an article about the tariffs being on chicken dumping being scrapped. And in the article it said for a year. So does this mean that these tariffs are going to be scrapped for at least a year? Is there any way to put enough pressure on the minister to reimpose these tariffs before a year is done? Because if we have to wait another year to, uh, I mean, we can't stay resilient for a whole year competing with these dirt cheap chickens. So what are the prospects there of getting this decision overturned?
Well, the minister has the power to overturn his own decision, as he has just done. Right? If if you're able to make a U-turn once, you can make a U-turn again and keep going in the right direction. But that U-turn, another U-turn from the minister is going to require for the cabinet and the president and the ruling party and the people of South Africa to push them to do the right thing instead of looking after the profits of Brazil. And so I think what's required is for everyone to bring everyone on board to voice their disapproval and to say, fix this. We can't wait 12 months. And we at Fair Play will give you, all of you, every opportunity to tell us why you can't wait 12 months. In fact, Kels, I would love to do a discussion with you on some public platform at some, that's worthwhile about that point. We can't wait 12 months. Write letters to the media, call journalists, local radio stations, go on them, talk about it. The only way to turn this around is if we all pull our weight, because by waiting on other people to do something, nothing's going to happen. It's up to us. I hope that helps, Cal.
Yes, that helps. I agree with you that we need to pull our weight and pull as much weight behind us as we can to get this decision overturned, because it's I do believe that it is a matter of urgency that we need to deal with this thing. I want to offer some hope to our listeners, to say, okay, what are we fighting for? So the topic for today is the poultry master plan. So I'm hoping you can shed some light for us in terms of what are the, if we're going to push the government to reimpose these tariffs, what else should we be pushing them to do in terms of the master plan? What else that they haven't been doing that they need to start doing now, that we must push them to do to support the poultry industry, especially small poultry farmers in South Africa?
Well, the first thing is impose anti-dumping tariffs as you have committed to do in the poultry master plan. Secondly, scrap value-added tax on chicken pieces that the poorest people buy, and chicken feed to support particularly small producers. Thirdly, implement all the measures that will allow the market to grow for everyone, including the assistance that's required for small poultry growers, both on chicken and on eggs. And then put more weight behind the rural areas in terms of education, extension support, and market support. We had a number of master plan discussions with professors from various universities, for instance, where they said, the government should really start doing things differently in terms of supplying support to poultry producers in rural areas to more easily get their product to market, for instance. To create co-ops and ways in which small producers can become more competitive. If we do all of these things, but it starts, very clearly, it starts with value-added tax, and it starts with anti-dumping duties. Those two things must be the first. It's part of the master plan that anti-dumping duties must be applied. And if that is applied, at least it gives you a better chance of survival. Once that is done, everything else is possible, including value-added tax to be scrapped for chicken and chicken feed.
What I'm realizing now is today's space, we're supposed to be discussing the opportunities that we're supposed to get from the Poultry Master Plan. But now, because of what Mr. Patel has done, it changes everything. You know, we can't even go to the big farmers or the big poultry producers that are supposed to incubate small scale farmers, because the Poultry Master Plan is basically null and void if the man that signed to say that this is how poultry will be run in South Africa um, has now gone back and said, no, actually, I'm removing this part of it. So does that mean now there must be a new master plan that must be developed? Should there be new rules if he doesn't go back on his word or on his signature?
Well, you see, this raises the question, because let's just remind ourselves what the master plan committed to. It set targets to be met by 2023. That's next year. Those objectives include expansion of industry capacity, containment of imports, increase in the consumption of locally produced chicken meat, increase in the level of participation and ownership of Black people across the industry value chain, increase in export of raw and cooked chicken products. It identified measures to drive domestic demand. So, for instance, state procurement of locally produced chicken for state institutions, promotion by retailers of proudly South African chicken, and then the sanitary and phytosanitary plan to overcome barriers to exports. These are all things committed to in the master plan. The plan makes provision for addressing all unfair trade practices, food safety issues, a review of regulations governing the way in which imported chicken must be packed and labeled, measures to prevent thawing of frozen meat and refreezing or selling as fresh, to ensure that imported chicken is traceable as it is for South African chicken. So all of these things are part of the master plan. Now, by taking this U-turn, you must tell me whether you think the master plan will be implemented. It seems to me the minister has just undercut his own master plan. Now, therefore, we must all advocate the reinstatement of the master plan, a recommitment to the master plan, the reinstatement of anti-dumping duties, and the implementation of all the other commitments in the master plan by everyone, not only by the industry, but also by the importers and particularly by government, because there's a lot that government must do that they have not yet done.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a very gloomy and sad day in the poultry industry today. Um, just before I give Ruffle Feathers a chance to speak, I just wanted you to speak to what lack of tariffs has done to the Ghana poultry industry.
Well, not only to Ghana. In fact, if you look at Senegal, if you look at Cote d'Ivoire, all of them have now taken really tough measures to ensure that they can take care of their own needs in terms of chicken. So, for instance, in Ghana, the industry used to produce 95% of their own chicken. Dumping pushed it down to 5%. They are now investing billions of rand to try and get chicken resuscitated as an industry in Ghana. If you look at Senegal, then you see the same thing. Both Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast, took action in 2005, and imported chicken took 90% of their market. So Senegal banned all chicken imports, while the Ivory Coast imposed a levy of the equivalent of about 26 rand a kilo. And that levy has been extended to 2030, according to Agence France Presse, the French press agency. Senegal is now producing 110,000 tons of poultry a year compared to 30,000 tons in 2005. So the point I'm making is that the master plan would work. It's just a matter of implementing it. The Senegalese now employ 50,000 people in the industry, of whom half are women. In the Ivory Coast, they now produce 56,000 tons, and imported chicken prices rose to around 57 rand per kilogram since 2005 because of anti-dumping duties. But the price of local chicken has remained stable. So the industry has taken off. But a farmer in Senegal and Ivory Coast said, if imported chicken comes back to us, we will all be unemployed. Fairplay brought the chairman of the Ghana poultry producers to South Africa. And his message was very simple. He said, you better stop dumping before there's a tipping point. Because once there's a tipping point, and that tipping point, he says, is the moment imported chicken gets close to 40 or over 40%, then it wipes out the entire industry very quickly. In South Africa, imported chicken already makes up 30% of the market. It's the biggest producer. Brazil is now a bigger producer of chicken for South Africa than South African producers individually, the biggest ones. So this master plan was needed. It is now needed more than ever. And the minister must support the master plan. If they do, here's the good news. If they do, it revitalizes the poultry industry. It's done that in Ghana. It's done that in Senegal. It's done that in Ivory Coast. It will do that in South Africa too. But everyone must be committed, and they must actually stick to their commitments. The minister has signed on the dotted line. He can't go back on it now.
Yeah. Ruffled Feathers, good evening.
Good evening. I hope that you're all able to hear me. My name is Ade Kamga, from Ruffle Feathers. And Francois, thank you for painting, I think, what most of us would consider to be a very vivid picture in terms of what the developments have been to date. Personally, nothing that has transpired over the past few hours or a few days should come as a surprise. I think the writing has been on the wall for, I think, the better part of 3 weeks. So if you recall, in the third week of July, government hosted its first inaugural Black Industrialists and Exporters Conference. I think this, if one is to connect the dots, the lowering of the import tariffs actually assists these Black industrialists in terms of moving goods in and out of the country. And also some of the goods that they do get, goods and services, are what you call zero rated. Some of them are VAT exempt. And also there's another company, I forget now the actual name of this outfit, but I think they're one of the biggest black importers of poultry coming from the South Americas. And that the removal of the import duties or the tariffs, one could argue that it's meant to facilitate or to fast track the successes, of various black industrialists working in different sectors. So that would be my first comment, that nothing that has transpired over the past couple of weeks should come as a surprise. The writing has been on the wall. I think also a much more structured response is required, as opposed to just tweeting about the sudden U-turn that Minister Patel has taken. And I think there are several avenues that are at the disposal of poultry farmers. I haven't heard anything said about the Competition Commission and what their relative powers are in terms of investigating the relative impact of what the minister has announced on the local industry. Second, you have the International Trade Administration Commission, which I believe is a Chapter 9 institution that has the ability to regulate, or even organizations such as Fair Play making representations or special petitions as to why certain tariffs should be re-put in place. Now, I'm also surprised. I'm not sure what the regulatory affairs guys at Country Fair and Rainbow are doing. I think they're sitting on their laurels. I am a regulatory specialist, and if I was in the space, I think that would be one of the first things that I do, is to petition the International Trade Administration Commission, number one. Number two, the Portfolio Committee for Agriculture is also, or rather, has the power to direct policy or suggest corrective measures that the minister must take where they are of the opinion that the minister has made an incorrect decision. Again, I'm not sure what the regulatory affairs specialists at the big conglomerates are doing, because that as well would be another avenue that I would employ. So, colleagues, really, what I am saying is that a much more structured response is required, as opposed to just tweeting. This is a political game here, and if you're not politically astute, then you won't get the results that you are looking for. And so, maybe what I could possibly suggest, and Francois, feel free to accept or decline, but I think one thing that Fair Play can do, and I've seen that you have quite a reach on Facebook. I think you have 14,000 followers. I'm not sure on Twitter how many followers you have, but I think you can do something in terms of an online petition where all of the people that are on this Twitter call should be able to electronically sign that petition, as evidence that you have the support of a small as well as medium and micro farmers, operating in the poultry space. It would be great as well if one could also get the signing as well from the likes of the CEO of the South African Poultry Association, and I suppose also support from the CEOs from the big conglomerates as well. Just give me a sec. And of course, think of different ways in which one can make special representations to the likes of ITEC, the portfolio committees, the competition commission, because the minister really, is not the final authority on anything. And I have good authority in terms of what I'm saying. I also serve in one of the master plans. I can't say which. I have a 9-to-5 job, and I can tell you, all of these master plans, at some point, they are going to succumb to a stillbirth. And I think the recent announcement, has really dented the confidence of the signatories to the poultry master plan. It's taken a real knock, and I don't see, how the minister can correct this. I think the only way that he can do that is to reinstate the tariffs. Just to inspire the confidence of the signatories to that master plan. And then finally, colleagues, this issue of VAT-free poultry feed, it's definitely something I think that we should be agitating for. It's something that I also have been personally pushing. Right now, I'm busy doing a second master's with the Wits University on digital business, and one of the areas that I'm focusing on is how can zero-rated feed assist small farmers. I think it has a domino effect, because currently the legislation that deals with VAT only operates for the benefit of large conglomerates. So how it works is that these entities, they are given special concessions to acquire certain goods that are either zero rated or once the goods are imported, they can be exempt from VAT. And the only qualification is that the goods that are imported must be consumed in the course of conducting a farming enterprise. So what I'm saying here is that you can have a company, say, let's call it Afgri Feeds. They can import maize from Europe, very cheaply, or the South Americas, or any other developing country in the world. Import that, and they don't have to pay VAT or what do you call this thing now? VAT, or it's zero rated. And yes, that works for their benefit, but there's nothing that operates for the benefit of small farmers. I think every other month feed goes up, significantly, and a lot of young black people that are operating in the space, are forced, to exit the industry. And I'm talking about young, promising black youth, and the government is doing very little. In fact, their brains are in a vat, if I were to use that colloquialism. So yeah, that would be my submission. I know I've said a mouthful. I've hoped you were able to follow my train of thought. Thanks.
In fact, you are demonstrating why these conversations are so useful, because I learn in every one of them. And the one thing that's absolutely true that you raise is that this is a decision that is a political decision, and therefore the political pressure must be applied to have it overturned and for the right decision to be reinstated. All the other things you mentioned, these are all very valid actions. As far as a petition is concerned, on the one hand, I'm hesitant because I don't want to start a petition and then you get maybe 500 or 1,000 people signing up, and it looks like nothing. I think if we're going to have a petition, we must have a real heavyweight campaign behind it. We don't have the resources to do that, but we do have access. You have access. The one thing I would point out that's still part of the master plan and that all of you should go and inquire is about the South African government institutions buying chicken locally for their own purposes. So if there's a prison in your area and they buy chicken, they must buy from small farmers in that area. And there's a commitment in the master plan that they must do so. If there is if there's a tender out for chicken, it should go to South African producers, not to importers. So these are all things that we need to help do. I would also point out that maybe we should reach out to SARS as well, because these duties would have put substantial amounts into the pockets of the country via SARS. SARS has committed and has already started combating illicit chicken smuggling, that kind of thing. They've already started arresting people. So we must do what we can to also bring this to the attention of SARS and ask them to support the idea that the decision must be turned around. In addition, I would just point out that we are talking also to the trade unions, because very clearly people's jobs are at stake. And if trade unions are not prepared to stand up with us in these circumstances, then under what circumstances will they stand up? So I am hopeful that the trade unions will help us also to really gather a momentum to get this decision turned around. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, Ade. Thank you, Francois. Abutitsohan, good evening.
Greetings, everyone. Francois, thanks for joining us today. Thanks for your time. I have one question and I have a comment, but after the question, I just want to find out those African countries that you have mentioned that they've successfully turned around their poultry industry. What did the citizens of those countries do? How did they get them to turn that around? Was that a decision by the ministry? Was that the decision by the government, or were there factors that pushed them to there? Because I think that we could also learn from that. That's one question I want to ask, and I will make a comment after you've asked after you've answered the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Tsohan. Yes, indeed, in many of those countries, so in Ghana, for instance, we spoke to the chairman of the Ghana poultry industry. And what he told us was that people were getting very angry about the high prices of chicken, and that this started becoming an election issue. And therefore, the government decided to do something about it. In Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire, the governments actually took the lead, because they discovered that these European partnership agreements that forced them to open up the market without any tariffs or duties was not in their interest. And so they turned it around to rescue their industries. When a government cares about its own people in terms of ensuring food security and food safety, that's what happens. When a government acts against the idea of food security by not supporting its own poultry industry, then we get different results, and we must do everything we can to take the advice of everyone on this call. I really think it's important. If you think we should start a petition, start one. We'll amplify it. You don't have to wait for us to start it. We're happy to also come with you and help and do what we can to amplify it and to add our voice to that. And I undertake to personally speak to some of the bigger chicken producers, the leaders there, to find out what they plan to do. Maybe this is something for the Competition Commission. Maybe this is something for the public protector. I don't know. I'm not a legal man, but we will be speaking to friends in the legal profession to find out from a legal and a regulatory perspective what is possible. But we must now pull out every possible lever to change things. Thank you.
Okay.
Back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So what I want to suggest is, because, I understand the situation of petitions and all that, but what we have seen in our country is that it seems like government responds to protest, physical protest. That's what I have what I've seen lately. So I would think that perhaps I'm not sure if we have a poultry farmers day in South Africa, but if we have something like that, I would suggest that we have it as a protest, whichever day that is, and it should be at this minister's office. And I'm not suggesting violence, but it does look like our ministers and people who make decisions really act when they see a little bit of violence. Look, I've watched a lot of discussions over this matter, and it's not going anywhere because I've seen it's like 6 or 7 people who are benefiting from this situation of imports. So they were well wild type of people as far as money is concerned. But I'm just imagining that we have a poultry farmers day where thousands of farmers come together to voice this physically, I mean, in person to the minister to tell him of the impact that is doing to us. It's an unfortunate situation that you also see people have to burn tires on the street to get water. It doesn't mean that those people haven't made petitions before and that they haven't written letters before, that they haven't went to the offices before. Unfortunately, that is what happens. So from where I'm sitting, I hear all the suggestions as far as legal routes are concerned, sign here, sign there. But I can tell you, if I go alone and say I'm challenging you, they'll probably give me 60,000 rands to keep me quiet. I'll go back to my farm, I'll buy my feed, and I'll look at everybody else and say, look, I'm making it. So for me, what I think would be best to do is we must have a poultry farmers day, and that day, whenever we have that day, we must do it at the minister's offices. We must make noise there. We must look, even if it means we slaughter our chickens there, we do it, and we have a hell of a bride there, we do that. That is the one thing that will remind him that we are here, we are present. These things of letters and so forth, yes, we can, the poultry day can be preceded by that, but it must happen in a physical form, because it seems like they doubt that we exist when they hear a person saying that there's poultry farmers who are struggling because of your actions. It seems as though they think, oh no, you're only talking about 3 big farmers. Where are all the 800 small scale farmers you're talking about? We don't see them. Where are all the thousands of small scale farmers you're talking about? We should go there and say, here we are, you see us, and look at our faces and see the damage that you are doing. I know farmers right now who have retrenched, who are now running the farms by themselves. I know farmers now who have dropped their cycles from thousands to hundreds. And the situation is only going to get worse. So that would be my suggestion. I mean, I wouldn't want us to dwell more on reiterating the known problems. I would rather say what is way forward. And one of the ways that I'm thinking about might not be the most fancy way, but it seems to be the only way that they listen to. It seems to be picketing and protest and a little bit of breaking a window here and there. Yeah,
Well,
I'm just.
so Kong, I will just confirm with you that when before COVID, we marched regularly and it got results. And the trade unions marched with us, and we sometimes managed to persuade the management of the big chicken companies to also march with us. So we must return to that. I agree with that. We really must mobilize people. And one of the best ways to mobilize people, I won't say let's break windows, I don't like that, but let's protest in a visible way. And if everyone on this discussion supports it, I will raise this with the unions as well to say, please, let's have a visible protest.
Yes, Mr. Francois, I think that is definitely the best way forward. We always say this, that it's always best when a lot of people are, are standing together, because lobby groups actually have a louder voice than individuals. So I was also just going to suggest exactly what Abutito Kgang has suggested, because um, each person is I mean, one person at a time it doesn't work. It won't work. I just wanted to find out as well, because I know that there are stakeholders that sit at with the poultry master plan. So I just wanted to find out what way people like Afasa. Did you guys sign? You and Afasa are in the stakeholders sitting, if I'm not mistaken. Were you guys consulted? Do you have a right to sign for such decisions? Because I know that when Minister Togo Didiza wanted to implement new things in the agricultural space, she consulted first with all the stakeholders that sit. So, in the poultry master plan, isn't that supposed to be applied?
You're right, it's supposed to be applied. Fair play was never. We promoted the idea of the poultry master plan, but we are outside of the stakeholder base for government and so on, because we are not a chicken operation. We don't have a direct stake. Our stake is in helping to end the scourge of dumping, predatory trade, as we call it. Not only for poultry, but for every industry. We think predatory trade is wrong, and it should be stopped. It's just that poultry is a strategic industry for South Africa because it's the way people stay alive. And therefore, we focus a lot on poultry, but we are not a poultry player as such. We're a trade anti-dumping player. I'm sure Afasa, and we've spoken to Afasa over time. When it came to sugar, for instance, and sugar dumping, we worked directly with Afasa. And we support everyone who wants to do the right thing. And we oppose everyone who wants to do the wrong thing. And that's our approach. And we say the right thing is to fight predatory trade. The wrong thing is to allow dumping. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you so much, sir. No, I think then surely everybody in the space supports a picket day or week, whatever. Um, we do support it. We have said it before, even with SAPA, that whenever small scale farmers are needed to show face, we are available to go and do that, because we can't always be hiding behind the screen. We want to show face. We are available. So if Francois, Fair Play can organize it, like Abuti Ade said that on Facebook, you guys have a big following. You can start it there, bring it here on Twitter, and tag us on it, and we'll make sure that it reaches numbers, because I do know a lot of chicken farmers on the timeline. So does Abuti Tuhang and Kels and everybody else that is in the space. So it's just a matter of the word going out, and we'll just all go out there. Guys, I don't know if you had comments or if you still had questions. The floor is still open for just up until 8:30 to ask Mr. Franco questions. But I think, as everybody can pick up, the Poultry Master Plan idea or conversation has really just died out with what Mr. Patel has done today. And now it's just a matter of how do we go forward as poultry producers. So, Mr. Franta, yes, I agree. I'm in support. Let's have the
Fantastic.
ticket.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I'll definitely take that to my colleagues in Fair Play and say, comrades, let's figure out how to get this done. If there is no National Chicken Day, there will be from now on. We'll pick a date, and we'll make this happen. There's only one way to get things done. That's to do things. Let's do things.
Yes, nothing happens passively. You can never achieve anything when you're not doing anything.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys. Abuti Suhan, I think I'm just opening the floor to more questions. I mean, there's a comment on the space. Mr. Tesla, is saying that if there was no consultation, then courts may also be an option if everything fails. But I think let's start with the picketing, and it should be as soon as possible, as soon as
Indeed.
this month. Yeah, because if we waste any more time, I don't see why we should be relaxing, because we are already sitting at 30% of legal imports, because we do know that there were illegal imports as well that were not reported at SARS that would come in 27,000 tons of chicken that would be imported, and the importer trying to bribe the police with 800,000 rands. And you can just wonder how much are they making if they can afford to bribe for 8,000. Yo, 8,000, what? 800,000 rands. Wow, even
800,000.
my
Yeah.
my numbers are even failing me. That's just a lot. It shows that they make so much money. So yeah, I think I'll just give Mr. Francois, Ade, Kels, and Abutitsuhang an opportunity to do closing remarks. And I think it's time to work now, guys. There's nothing more to be discussed. There's no more questions to be asked. The Poultry Master Plan is under threat, and it needs us to act.
That's a wonderful summary. I want to encourage you also. Speak to any government arm that's buying chicken and make sure they buy from you. Make sure that you advocate for value-added tax to be scrapped on chicken pieces and chicken feed. And let's agree to start putting our time into petitioning government, both in person through protest, as well as every other channel that we could possibly do. That's my commitment from a Fair Play side. We'll join you in that, and we'll definitely get as much of that organized as we can.
Thank you, sir. Ade.
No, thanks, man. Thanks, man. Colleagues, yeah, no, I think I'm echoing the same sentiments that Francois just made. I think let's support the cause of VAT-free poultry that is produced locally, VAT-free feed. I think these, have immediate benefits, specifically for us as small and medium-scale enterprises. And the suggestion by Butsukhang, that we need concomitant action, I think is also one that I also support. But nonetheless, I think both of these, also go hand in hand. They can both be done. Yes, so we have a difference of opinion. I'm still of the opinion, that to beat a political game, you also need to play a political one. And I will be making a submission as well. There was a document that was circulated by National Treasury as well. So one can also petition them through that. I think the closing date is the 19th of August. And
Yes.
I will draft a document, outlining also some of the issues that we've discussed here, because as much as protest is good, in the legal world, when you fight certain issues, some of it has to be reduced to writing. You have to create a document record, that you can go to and say, okay, no, over the years, this is how we engaged, this a particular entity. We haven't had, much luck in them providing remedial action, and that's how you go through the process, is to create that record, and then just make sure that you approach any institution that you possibly can. So that I think, as one of the listeners here suggested, is that perhaps what one should also consider as a whole is also going to court. But to do that, you have to create that record. Thanks.
Thanks, my brother. We just have Makwala that just joined us. I'd just like to give him a moment to say his piece. Good evening, Makwala.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good, my brother.
Good. I was just suggesting that maybe we should start making noise on radios, starting from tomorrow morning on each and every breakfast show, wherever you're listening, whatever station that you're listening to. Let's start making noise there, guys. Let's send emails to radio station. Let's send WhatsApp voice notes. Since these days they have WhatsApp voice notes, let's send them tomorrow morning, each and every station that we listen to, guys. Let's just start there tomorrow morning. That's a commitment that we must make, guys. Tomorrow morning, we call radio stations and we make noise. Thanks, guys. That's all I wanted to.
Very good. And if you need me to help talk, we'll be available. we need to do whatever we can.
Yes, absolutely. That is a great submission, Makwala. Tomorrow, even if you don't listen to radio, guys, let's start Googling now. Radio 2000 WhatsApp number, Ukozi FM WhatsApp number, and let's bombard them with voice notes. Kel's closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Francois, for joining us and making us aware of the danger that is upon us right now. And I do believe that this is an emergency. This qualifies as a threat to national security because food security is paramount. Like the article that Zohang posted right now on the space. I don't know how he did that. He did that by magic or something. But yeah, it speaks about how this Singapore found itself in trouble because Malaysia stopped exporting chickens to them during COVID. I once saw a YouTube video about the story as well. And we could end up in a situation like that. And it's not really, the chicken industry can be restarted over a month or over a couple of months once our producers decide that they don't want to give us chicken anymore. So I would argue that this qualifies as a matter of national security, that it's important that we preserve our poultry industry. And I do think that these guys, the competition commission also needs to get involved, because these practices what's going to happen is that they're going to end up monopolizing the industry and having complete control over the price of chicken in South Africa. And what they're trying to achieve now by taking away the tariffs will actually end up in the end. Well, they're saying they're taking away the tariffs to make chicken cheaper for the poor. So at the end of the day, it's just going to result in more expensive chicken for consumers. So I would argue that is the completely wrong way to go. We are chasing short-term gains and overlooking the long-term threats. So I support the notion to go and picket at the minister's office. I will support any initiative to go and disturb their peace over there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kels. Abutituhan.
Thank you very much, Amanda. I just want to start by thanking everyone for coming through today. Thanks to all the listeners and the speakers. We value your time very much. And then I want to say to fellow farmers in here and listeners as well, when we decide to mobilize and go out against importers or on such a matter, we will really appreciate your support if you can come through in numbers. If you don't come through in numbers, I have ways to invite you, because I've also noticed that when a promise is made that there's funding, people come in numbers. So we will find ways to invite you if you decide not to come through. We'll find ways. You'll come there thinking there's a bag of feed, a free bag of feed, and you'll find yourself working with us there. Anyway, I just wanted to say that, yeah, it was a great space. Thank you very much to all the guests who are here. We value your time, and please do come back again when we need you to come and clarify a few things for us. But yes, let us have that Poultry Farmers Day. Let us go there and do something. Thank you very much. And that will be all from my side.
Thank you so much. I would just like to take this moment to thank Mr. Francois for making the time to come to the space. He's probably speaking to us all the way from the US,
Yes.
and we really value the fact that you still care so much about us here in SA. You know, you could have just continued living your life the way that you want, but with having the likes of Butemba walking the streets of SA in the name of fair play and equal playing field for everybody, for all trades in our country. We really appreciate you know the whole vision of fair play, and we can only hope that we can be able to reap this kind of reward from it, to have people like you in the forefront, and we can have this thing turned around, because it is really going to kill the poultry industry. 10 more percent is only needed in order for us to start dying. In during the COVID times, the ships were at sea for 6 months, roaming around with the chicken that is supposed to come into South Africa. And imagine if the local farmer was not working during that time, if we didn't have the resources, or we're already killed like they're trying to kill us now. That means that South Africa would have been without chicken for 6 months when that ship was at sea, with the chicken. We can't go there. We can't allow that to happen. And we really need to stand up and fight. And guys, I opened a WhatsApp group once upon a time, and I invited people that believed in this to come onto the WhatsApp group so that we can register our own emerging farmers a corporation, or NPO, so that we can have a seat at the poultry master plan sitting and be part of the stakeholders. People did join the group, but not, I'm struggling to get 6 people to be part of the executive in order for it to be registered. It's been more than 2 months, and people come here and they speak and they say, yes, let's do it, let's do that. And then you make a move, and people don't actually step up, struggling to get a bare minimum of 6 people to be part of the executive. People want to be there, but they don't want to act. I don't think it's the time to be dormant in anything right now. If you believe in poultry, if you believe in farming, and you believe that it's a calling for you, I honestly think, guys, like, I can't be revving people like I'm revving a people that don't know what they're fighting for. I plead, like, you would swear that this thing is going to benefit me alone and my family. If there's anyone that is willing, and if you're gonna join, guys, you're going to be part of the executive. There's 2 of us that were willing to be part of the executive. We need 4 more people so that we can be registered. Once we're registered, we'll also be like AFASA and form part of the stakeholders, that are there, and be able to have a voice. Because the reason now we're crying for Mr. Francois is because we are not registered as a lobby group. We're just individuals, and individuals are not listened to. So that's just, a little bit of me teasing you guys, because, like, I'm tired. Let's do this thing. Let's stand up for ourselves, man. Okay, Makwala was trying to speak, but I think he's gone now. So, yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Francois. For the next two spaces, we're going to have Q&A. We're probably going to speak on this again because it's something very serious. You know, what's the point of us actually farming if we in the next 4 months our businesses would have been shut down? Makwala?
Oh, thanks, Tebushiga. I just wanted to say, maybe we should also push hashtag stop chicken dumping in South Africa. We only need 1,000 tweets so that we can trend on Twitter. So if we can just start now, guys, tweeting, I don't know, maybe we can put 10 tweets even now. We only need 1,000 tweets to trend on Twitter. That's all.
Okay, let's get on that. Hashtag stop chicken dumping in SA, right? That's the hashtag, Makwala?
Yes.
All right, awesome. Francois, did you want to say something? I saw movement in your
No,
mic.
I just wanted to thank you for your time, for your good advice, and I can assure you, we will do everything in our power to walk this way with you, however we can be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, we have one more request, Mr. Robert. I have to allow him to speak. Just one moment and then we can close the space. Good evening, Robert. Robert,
Hello,
can you hear
you
me?
can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you,
I'm
sir?
doing. I'm really shocked by this news.
It's crazy.
Really shocked. When we are preparing to come there and even organize small scale farmers of how we can even get outside the market, the minister is doing this. I think this must be stopped at whatever cost. We can't allow this. I'll give you an example for 1 minute. You know Denmark, a country called Denmark. Is here in the European Union. This country cannot allow you to import dairy products because they are very jealous in protecting their dairy industry. So why should South Africa be turned into a dumping ground? And we have enough poultry farmers who can satisfy the raw needs and even export. We should stop this at all at whatever cost. And as Makwara has said, I will also rob for some of my friends. Tell them let's tweet, even if it's about 5 or even 10,000 tweets, and stop this thing. No, we can't allow this. We are killing local industry. This is where jobs are found. This is a value chain where we create a lot of jobs for our youth. Right now, South Africa unemployment rate is very high. And yet the minister can go and do something like this. No. This should stop. I'm really shocked. I couldn't believe my eyes. I had to read this 23 or 4 times. How should they do this? How? Why don't we behave? Why don't we do like other countries that okay, even if they are going to import their product, like Denmark, okay, you can bring in dairy products, but the taxation that will be put on your dairy product, you see there is no point. You are just running at a loss. So why don't we do that? Okay, they come, but we put very high taxes, which means that even if they import, they won't make any profit. And you can imagine farming is a backbone of most of African countries. And here we have a minister who says that, okay, it's okay, we can just import chicken and have no. Let's put this campaign in order. Let's tweet as many tweets as possible, and this thing must stop. We can't allow you to go ahead. No. How many youth you lack jobs? How many people in the value chain will lose their daily bread? No. That's all what I wanted to say because I know you want to close. But let's join the chain and let's tweet as many tweets as possible, and until we get even the government to act on this. We can't allow this for sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Robert.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Francois?
Fantastic, definitely.
All right. Yeah. All right, guys. I think we've come to the end of the space. Thank you so much for joining. Let's look out for the tweets. Let's retweet. Let's tweet. Hashtag chicken dumping in South Africa must fall. Hashtag chicken what? Tariffs? What? Makwala? You must tweet the first tweet so that we can have the same hashtag, please, because I'm already mixing it up. Makwala?
Yes, I'll do so. I'll do so. I'll take you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
All right. Good evening, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.